On a warm spring evening in May 2007, a family holiday in southern Portugal quietly crossed a line that can never be uncrossed. Praia da Luz was the kind of place people went to feel safe. Whitewashed buildings, calm streets, children playing near the beach. For Kate and Jerry McCann, it was meant to be a break from busy hospital shifts and long nights at work. For their 3-year-old daughter Madeleine, it was just another night of sleep after a day in the sun. No one at that resort could have imagined that within hours, this small seaside town would become the center of one of the most haunting mysteries the world has ever known. That evening, Madeleine and her 2-year-old twin siblings were put to bed in their ground-floor holiday apartment. The adults in the group walked a short distance to a nearby restaurant, close enough that they believed they could check on the children regularly. Every so often, one of them returned to the apartment to listen for movement, to make sure all was well. This routine felt ordinary at the time, almost boring in its simplicity. But looking back now, it is impossible not to ask the question that echoes through this case again and again. At what exact moment did everything change? Shortly after 10 o'clock, Kate McCann walked back to the apartment for another check. When she opened the bedroom door, the room felt wrong. The window was open. The shutters were raved. Madeleine's bed was empty. In seconds, confusion turned into panic. Kate ran back screaming for help, shouting that her daughter had been taken. Guests, staff, and locals rushed to search the area. People checked bushes, roads, nearby buildings. The police were called. As the night stretched on, hope and fear twisted together in the dark. If a child had been taken, where could she be? And if she was nearby, why hadn't anyone heard anything? The first hours after a child goes missing are often the most important, but they are also the most chaotic. In Praia da Luz, the apartment quickly filled with people trying to help. Friends, resort workers, and volunteers moved through the rooms. Doors were opened, floors were walked on, items were touched. Later, critics would say the scene was not secured fast enough. Others would argue that no one present was thinking like an investigator. They were thinking like parents, friends, and neighbors desperate to find a missing child. But once time passes, can early mistakes ever be undone? As the sun rose the next morning, the search widened. Police officers, dogs, and volunteers combed the area. Helicopters scanned from above. Roadblocks were set up. Madeleine's photo began to spread across television screens and newspapers. Within days, the story crossed borders. A missing British child in a foreign country struck a deep nerve. Parents everywhere imagined the same nightmare happening to them. How far could a child be taken in one night? And how could someone vanish without leaving a clear trail? At first, investigators focused on the idea of an abduction by a stranger. The open window and shutters suggested someone could have entered from outside. Witnesses reported seeing unfamiliar people around the area in the days before. One man was seen carrying a child on the night Madeleine vanished, though descriptions varied and could never be confirmed. As days turned into weeks, leads came in from across Europe. Sightings were reported in supermarkets, airports, beaches, and city streets. Each tip carried hope, and each one faded into disappointment. How do police separate real clues from honest mistakes when the whole world is watching? As the investigation continued, attention slowly shifted in a direction few expected. Portuguese police began to explore the possibility that Madeleine had not been taken by a stranger at all. Instead, they considered whether she might have died in the apartment, and that her disappearance was staged to look like an abduction. This idea shocked the public and devastated the McCann family. In September 2007, Kate and Jerry were formally named suspects under Portuguese law. Suddenly, grieving parents found themselves under intense suspicion. Cameras followed their every move. Every word they spoke was analyzed. Could parents really be hiding something so terrible? Or was this a case of investigators running out of options? One of the most controversial parts of the case involved sniffer dogs brought in from the United Kingdom. These dogs were trained to detect the scent of human remains and blood. They alerted in parts of the apartment and later near a car the family rented weeks after Madeleine disappeared. To many watching from afar, this sounded like strong evidence. Headlines suggested dark conclusions. But evidence is rarely that simple. Dog alerts can point investigators toward areas of interest, but they do not explain when, how, or why a scent might be present. DNA samples taken from those areas were complex and incomplete. Experts later argued over whether the results meant anything at all. When science itself becomes a battleground, who should the public believe? In July 2008, after more than a year of investigation, Portuguese authorities closed the case. The McCanns were cleared of suspect status, and the file was archived due to lack of evidence. For some, this felt like an ending. For others, it felt like abandonment. Madeleine was still missing. No clear explanation had been proven. The mystery remained open in the minds of millions. If the case was closed, did that mean the truth would never be known? So, 3 years later, the case returned to life. British police launched a new review, known as Operation Grange. Their goal was to re-examine all evidence from the beginning, free from earlier assumptions. Investigators looked again at witness statements, travel records, and possible suspects. The idea of a stranger abduction regained focus. Police reviewed known offenders who had lived in or visited the area at the time. Slowly, quietly, the case moved forward behind the scenes. What new detail might stand out after years of silence? In 2020, a dramatic announcement shifted the story once again. German prosecutors revealed they were investigating a German man in connection with Madeleine's disappearance. They stated they believed Madeleine was dead. The suspect, a convicted sex offender, had lived in Portugal around the time she vanished. He owned vehicles linked to the area and had a history of crimes against children. For the first time in years, the public heard a name tied clearly to the case. But even then, questions remained. If authorities were so certain, why were no charges filed? What keeps the disappearance of Madeleine McCann alive is not just the mystery of what happened, but the unanswered why. Why was that apartment chosen, if it was? Why that night? Why has no clear trail ever led to a final answer? The case sits at the crossroads of human fear, media attention, investigative limits, and time itself. Memories fade. Evidence degrades. Witnesses move on or pass away. And yet, the questions remain sharp. More than 18 years later, Praia da Luz is quiet again. Families still holiday there. Children still sleep in small apartments near the sea. Life continues, as it always does. But for millions, the name Madeleine McCann still carries weight. It represents every unanswered knock on the door, every missing poster that never comes down, every parent who wonders if hope should ever end. If the truth were known today, would it bring peace, or would it open new wounds? This is why the case refuses to disappear. It is not just about one child, one family, or one place. It is about how fragile safety can be, how quickly normal life can fracture, and how the search for truth can stretch across decades. Somewhere, the full story exists. Somewhere, there is an answer that fits every piece together. The question is not whether the mystery will ever end. The question is who will finally have the courage, or the chance to end it. Cases like this only remain alive because people keep asking questions and refusing to forget. If you found this breakdown helpful, support the channel by liking the video and sharing it with someone who still remembers Madeleine's name. Subscribe for more deeply researched true stories, and, turn on notifications so you don't miss what comes next. Because sometimes, the smallest detail shared at the right time can change everything.